I'm worried for Robert Picardo's doctor after Star Trek Picard's Mars attack. I've been worried about the doctor, Robert Picardo, ever since Star Trek Picard Season 1 and Star Trek Prodigy Season 2 did nothing to assuage my fears for him post-Mars attack. As a longtime Star Trek Voyager fan, the Doctor has always been one of my favorite characters. His unique status as a sentient hologram, coupled with his singular brand of humor and sincerity, have endeared many people to him, myself included. When it was announced that Picardo would be reprising his role as the Doctor in Star Trek Prodigy Season 2, I could not have been more excited. Although Prodigy Season 2 didn't focus on the Doctor heavily, his return to the franchise was highly enjoyable. The Doctor acted as great comic relief throughout the season, and his close relationships with his former Voyager cast members were on full display. However, the ending of Prodigy Season 2 also coincided with a huge event from Star Trek Picard, the android attack on Mars that resulted in the crippling of Starfleet during the Romulan evacuation and would eventually lead to a Federation-wide ban on synthetic life. It is this event that has me particularly worried about the Doctor's future. Why Star Trek Voyager's Doctor is in danger after Picard's Mars attack as an artificial life form. The Doctor could be classified as a synth in the future, which may lead to him being taken offline indefinitely. Star Trek has never made it clear whether holograms were classified as synthetics after the synth ban was enacted. While it's true that Picard Season 1 did still show active holograms on multiple occasions, they were mostly part of the crew of La Sirena under Cristobal Rios, Santiago Cabrera, a non-Federation ship. It's possible that holograms began to be just as distrusted as androids after the Mars attack. My fears for the Doctor were somewhat lifted when I saw him still active during Prodigy Season 2's ending. However, the portion of the finale that took place after the Mars attack was brief and came directly after the attack happened. Prodigy Season 2 showed the immediate fallout, but not the synth ban being enacted. This has left me feeling uneasy. Thanks to Starfleet's new xenophobia against synthetic life, and the fact that the Doctor and sentient androids share a lot of the same traits, it may be only a matter of time before he is forced to shut down. Star Trek could confirm the Doctor's 25th century status, however, given that Picard also showed the synth ban lifted. Star Trek has the chance to confirm the Doctor's status in future live-action projects. Right now, there aren't any confirmed upcoming projects set in the post-Picard 25th century, but that era of the franchise is ripe with possibilities after Picard Season 3. Among these possibilities is a show or movie focusing on the new crew of the newly minted USS Enterprise G under the command of Captain 7 of 9, Jerry Ryan. Although the proposed Star Trek legacy is looking slimmer and slimmer, it seems only inevitable to me that a future Star Trek project will focus on Captain 7 and her crew. If that happens, bringing back the Doctor would only make sense in my opinion. 7 and the Doctor were very close on Voyager, so the franchise using a project about her as a chance to confirm the Doctor's status would go a long way to assuage the fears of those who love his character. After his latest appearance in Star Trek Prodigy, the Doctor deserves to be seen again soon. Star Trek's prequel movie can answer First Contact's 30-year-old questions. Star Trek's prequel movie can answer 30-year-old questions Star Trek First Contact left behind. Paramount Pictures is developing an untitled Star Trek origin movie directed by Toby Haynes and written by Seth Grahame-Smith. Haynes directed Black Mirror's Star Trek parody, USS Callister, and his Star Trek prequel film is reportedly set mostly on Earth and focuses on humanity's early contact with aliens and the formation of the United Federation of Planets. Haynes' Star Trek prequel movie is said to be aimed toward general audiences who don't have expertise about Star Trek's vast canon. Director Jonathan Frakes' Star Trek First Contact was released in 1996, and the hit film was essentially Star Trek's origin story. To stop the Borg, Captain Jean-Luc Picard, Patrick Stewart, leads the USS Enterprise into the year 2063. As Picard battles the Borg on the Enterprise, it's up to Commander William Riker, Jonathan Frakes, and his away team to ensure Dr. Zefram Cochrane's James Cromwell first warp flight launches as scheduled. Crane's history-making voyage succeeds, resulting in humanity's first contact with the Vulcans. From that seed sprang Star Trek. Star Trek First Contact questions Toby Haynes' prequel movie can answer, while it's doubtful Toby Haynes' Star Trek origin movie would go into detail about what happened after Star Trek First Contact. It could provide updates about how Zephram Cochrane meeting the Vulcans turned Earthlings into a spacefaring people. Easter eggs could reveal what happened to Lily Sloan, Alfred Woodard, what became of Cochrane's Phoenix starship, and the prequel could depict the early tumult between the haughty Vulcans and the scrappy people of Earth. There would have to be some space adventure in this Star Trek prequel movie, but Earth did have starships already before the NX-01 Enterprise became Starfleet's first Warp 5 capable vessel. Will Star Trek's prequel movie ignore Enterprise canon? For longtime Star Trek fans, the biggest concern about Toby Haynes' entitled Star Trek Origin is that it will ignore or rewrite Star Trek canon. After all, the description from The Hollywood Reporter that the Star Trek prequel focuses on humanity's early contact with aliens and the formation of the Federation is already problematic because the United Federation of Planets is founded after Star Trek Enterprise ends. It's possible Toby Haynes' Star Trek prequel could create a new history that will supersede known canon without J.J. Abrams' gimmick of creating an alternate timeline in Star Trek 2009, in which to do as he pleases. Then again, Star Trek 2009 recognized Star Trek Enterprise's place in canon by name-dropping Admiral Archer. 2016's Star Trek Beyond was even more respectful and integrated aspects of Star Trek Enterprise's era, including the NX-class USS Franklin starship. With little information to go on, it's unclear exactly when Toby Haynes' Star Trek prequel movie is set and what it will really be about. While there may be changes or revelations that will give Star Trek's origin a new direction or perspective, it may not outright break canon. But weaving in Star Trek First Contact's history and answering some questions left behind would go a long way toward pleasing Star Trek fans. Star Trek lore update strips the Orion of their greatest strength. The Orions are one of the most feared races in the Star Trek universe, but by the 24th century, their greatest strength has been taken from them. For many years, the Orions were a Star Trek enigma, often mentioned but never seen. Star Trek Enterprise changed this, revealing a good deal about their culture, but as seen in Star Trek Annual 2024, the Orion's biggest advantage has been neutralized. Star Trek Annual 2024 was written by Jackson Lansing and Colin Kelly and drawn by Rachel Stott. Data, accompanied by Geordi LaForge and Chief O'Brien, travels to the Orion homeworld, seeking clues to the whereabouts of the missing lore. The trio go to the pleasure quarter on the planet, to the stronghold of crime lord Madame Vivo. The three prepare to enter, but before Geordi and O'Brien go in, they inject themselves with a compound that neutralizes Orion pheromones. The Orions are vastly underused in the Star Trek universe. The Orions may not be as popular as the Klingons or the Borg, but they have been a part of the Star Trek franchise since the very beginning. An Orion slave girl appeared in Captain Pike's vision in The Cage, the very first episode of the show. Despite getting in on the ground floor, the Orions were mostly mentioned throughout the show's run, with a surgically altered member appearing in the classic Star Trek episode Journey to Babel. The Orions rated mentions on Deep Space Nine before making their grand entrance in Enterprise's fourth season. During that season, the episode Bound seemingly blew the lid off everything fans thought they knew about the Orions. Long considered to be a male-dominated culture, the Orions are in fact matricial, and the women secrete pheromones capable of mind control. Essentially, the slave girl bit was just an act. While this may have seemed to be empowering, fans felt it problematic. When the Orions returned in both J.J. Abrams' 2009 reboot and newer Trek shows, this development was ignored. Lower Decks retooled this concept further, removing many of its problematic elements.